Hi there, RC Girl here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to airbrush your first RC body. I've been wanting to learn how to airbrush for a long time because you can mix your own custom paint colors. I'm new to airbrushing as well, so the Axial Capra body panels and interior were the first body that I've ever airbrushed. I think it turned out really great. I'm using the Proline line of paints. In this video, I'll show you all the equipment that I'm using. It's on a budget, so if you too have been looking to airbrush your first RC body, stay tuned. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Here you're going to find RC reviews, tips and tricks, run videos, flight videos, and other things related to RC. So make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more. Also make sure to head over to my Instagram and Facebook. Sorry for the short hiatus. I got a little bit busy with my day job and some work travel, but now I'm back. I've been working to get my Capra build done. I'll put a link to that video. I just released it as well. So why airbrush over the typical rattle cans? I've been using these, the PS line of Tamiya paints, the rattle cans, for a long time. But you are kind of limited in your color selection, especially for the Lexan paints. The cans cost around $7 to $10, so it does add up as well. And they also don't really last that long. The rattle cans, maybe you can paint 1 or 2 bodies. With airbrushing, you can also do a lot more fine detail work and blending. So I think that's another bonus as well. Before we head out to go paint the body, I'm gonna go over all the equipment that I used. I did do this on a budget, as I mentioned, and I got a lot of the stuff on Amazon. I'll break down the basics of airbrushing to get you guys started. This is just a beginner's tutorial, so if you're already into airbrushing, this is probably not for you. I did do a lot of research on this setup, and I'll show you guys why I picked this one out. Let's zoom on in. So here's everything that I got to get me started in airbrushing. It does seem maybe like a lot of stuff, but I'll break it down. I'll put a link to everything in this video in the description box below, so feel free to check that out. First, you're gonna need an airbrush itself. We'll dive into a little bit more detail on that in a second. You're gonna need an air compressor. I got a desktop one. This came as a kit. It's called the Master Airbrush Cool Runner 2. I have a 20-gallon, like a large one in my garage, but I wanted something that's gonna be a little bit more portable. The airbrush kit comes with the hose. Your hose is gonna attach here. Here's the pressure gauge. Goes from 0 to 100. We're gonna be in the 20 to 30 range. After the hose is connected and the airbrush is connected, you can pull this little cap up and you can turn it to adjust the pressure, and it locks. You're gonna wanna make sure that any compressor you get has a water trap on it, because when you're compressing air, you're gonna get condensation, and that can come out of your airbrush and ruin your paint job. When you're done with everything, before you detach your hose, it has this quick air release valve. You just pull it up, and all the air comes out. It has little rubber suction cups here, and a little carry handle, which is kind of nice too. Then your on and off switch is up here. I went with the Proline line of water-based paints. As I mentioned before, they do come in a set. Like, I got the primary set, which allows me to mix basically most of the colors that I want. If you get them in a set, you're gonna also get the reducer. So this allows you to use smaller tips, as I mentioned, or some of the paints I've noticed are a little bit thicker than others, so you can reduce your paint to get a nice fine spray that you're looking for. And then they also sell them individually. So I picked out a couple cool colors that I really liked. This is like a slate. This is a slate blue, and then a primer gray. And then this one is one of their pearl colors. I thought these look really nicely together. And then I also got the flat clear. So I'm gonna use this on the back of the paint when I'm finished to protect it from scratching. And you can also use this on the, oops. And you can also use this on the exterior to give a flat finish instead of glossy. So kind of cool. I'll put a link to Proline's website. There's tons of colors to choose from. I think they also just came out with a new line. Really, really cool. Thanks to Proline for letting me try out their paints. Then cleaning, you're gonna learn that with airbrushing, cleaning is a huge thing that you need to do between colors and also at the end of your airbrush session. So I got a cleaner here. I think some people use Windex, and some people like to get these nicer ones and water them down a little bit so they last longer. I got a little wash bottle. I'll show you guys what I need this for in a second. And then a glass cleaning pot. So your airbrush kind of sits in this little holster here, and you can clean the airbrush out between colors. Also between colors, I like to use this little paintbrush. We'll go over that in a little bit more detail. And then next I got these little vials. I think these are used for like vaping oils, but since you are going to be mixing some of your own custom colors, for example, you're not going to have, it's going to be really hard to mix that again in the future. So you can keep your custom colors in these little vials. Next, you're gonna need tape to tape off any of your designs on your body. You're gonna need a hobby knife with a new blade, and that's gonna be for cutting out the design on your body. I like to use this fine grit sandpaper 220 to sand down the panels lightly before I paint them. It helps with paint adhesion. I always save extra Lexan pieces from bodies I've done in the past to do as test swatches, so I have that here. You can see here the matte and the glossy coat. I have a matte top clear that you can put over and make it the matte finish, and also practiced taping off different designs. Here's another one. You're gonna need your Lexan body, of course. I have the panels for the Capra. I think this is gonna be an easy body to use as my first paint job because the panels are mostly flat and they're a pretty small area. So I think this is a good choice for my first airbrushing. Here we have it. So this is the airbrush, and then the paint goes in here. This little canister has a little cap. I heard that going with the gravity fed one, so with this little canister here on the top, is going to be a better option. It's easier to clean, easier to maintain versus the siphon one. The siphon ones have a little canister on the bottom with the tube that suction out or siphon out the paint from the bottom. Everyone said to go with this for RC stuff. So this is a dual action airbrush. What that means is that there's 2 points or stops of motion on this little trigger here. So the first stop is pressing it down, and you'll get the airflow coming from the compressor down here. And then if you pull it back, you're gonna get more paint coming in. So the more you pull it back, the more paint is gonna spray out of the nozzle here. Another thing I like about this gun is that it came with a little detachable quick release here. So you can screw this on and attach it to your hose here. And it's super easy to detach from the hose. If you ever need to clean this or change colors, you don't have to unscrew it. A lot of them didn't come with that, so I made sure that I had a quick release on the airbrush that I was looking at. Another reason that I got this gun is that it comes with 3 different tip sizes. So you'll see here you can unscrew this little end piece, and the tip is actually right here with a needle. And so when you change out each tip size, you're going to also change out the needle. This one came with 0.2, 0.3, and 0.5 sizes. The Proline paints are pre-mixed to use 0.5 millimeter tips. So that's why I got this one. It had a 0.5 millimeter tip. You're going to be able to cover more surface area with a bigger tip. And also you can have more viscous or thicker paints with the bigger tips. So I really like that this came with multiple tip sizes. This kit also comes with the 3 different needles that are associated with the various tip sizes. Here are the different tips. 0.5, 0.2, and another 0.5. Actually, when I was changing out the tip for the first time, I over tightened it and it snapped on the threaded piece. So don't over tighten your tips. There's also a little rubber O-ring on the end of these, and you can either smash that and break it or get your tip stuck in the end of the nozzle. One great thing about this company though, really great customer service. It was the first day I had it. I broke it. I was super bummed. It was a Saturday, so I emailed customer service. He emailed super quickly within the hour and got me a new tip being sent on the way. So really great customer service. And it comes with a little tiny wrench to get the tips off. You're going to want to know how your airbrush works, know how to change out the tips, and know how to clean it. Definitely make sure you're airbrushing in a well-ventilated area. So before I take all this equipment outside and paint the body, we're going to mask off the design on the body that I'm looking for, and then we'll head outside. Stay tuned. So I kind of am going for like this mountain look. I saw this really cool Jeep on Instagram from the SEMA show that had this like kind of jagged mountains. So I used some cardboard and I obviously couldn't do the layering, but I wanted to get a sense of like, oh, what could this look like? So I really like this look. We might do something for the hood as well. So let's mask this off. Okay, now that all my panels are all kind of finished off, we're in a well-ventilated area. Then we're going to want to adjust the pressure between 20 and 30 psi, so you can pick this up, and then by twisting it up or down, you can adjust the PSI. I'm gonna keep it at around 30. And then push that down. And then we should be good to go. We're gonna fill up our little jar with our first color. You're gonna wanna do your darkest colors first so you don't back your light colors with the dark color, and then you'll lose kind of some of that sheen of the brightness of your lighter colors. All right, let's take it away. But first let's get oriented to the airbrush. So we're gonna fill it with paint. These ones, as I mentioned, they're pre-ready for the 0.5 millimeter tip, so we should be good to go just using it as is. And as a reminder, if we press down the trigger, you're gonna get air coming out. And then as you pull it back, you're gonna get more and more paint. So let's try our first color. You're gonna wanna make sure you mix the paints really well. And also with airbrushing, you don't go through a ton of paint. So you just kind of use a little bit, fill up the cup, but you know, just a little tiny bit, depending on how much paint you're gonna want to use, but it's really efficient with paint. Another thing I like to do is wear a glove, especially on the hand that you're holding whatever you're painting. So pull it down, you're gonna get air, then pull it back. You're gonna start to get paint. Compressor's gonna kick on and off as you go through the air, and that's totally normal. Okay, I'm feeling pretty comfortable with how this is spraying, and let's try, nervous, but let's do one of our panels. This one's pretty easy looking. Just gonna do black, and then this centerpiece is gonna be the slate blue. Let's give it a try. Nervous. So this is what it looks like with just a single coat of black. Let it dry. Okay, let's do our second coat. Starting to get some nice color now. What we're gonna do is just a lot of light coats. So super light, let it dry. And I like to kind of put it up to the light and see if I can see through it. And then I kind of feel like that's dark enough because we're going to back it with other colors and stuff. So you don't want it to be too thick, but enough that other colors aren't going to show through. So I think I'm going to do one more coat on these two and then move on to our other panels. And as far as dry time between these, if it looks shiny still, it's still wet. So if it starts to matte out pretty consistently, then you know it's dry. And it actually doesn't take too long for these coats to dry. You can also speed it up with a hairdryer. Okay, I'm gonna move on to my more intricate pieces. And I made sure that a lot of the tape is kind of tacked down with my nail because we don't want any bleeding. I'm getting a little bit of bleeding here. I don't know if I did my due diligence with getting it tacked down, but I can always kind of scrape it away. So I want to make sure that this one specifically looks nice and clean. Got a little splatter here, so when that happens, you kind of want to make sure every go that you give it a spray on some paper that the nozzle's not clogged. I didn't do that. Whoops. I also don't want to cover up where I did the red mark because I want to make sure that I can still see that and cut it out after I do the black. So I'm going to try and do my best to kind of stay away from this piece. I think I'm going to peel the tape off of this and make sure that I can scrape away that paint before it gets too dry. And with the interior, I did not get creative at all. I'm just going to do it mostly black except for the straps here, the seat belts. So yeah, I don't know, I got lazy, but if you guys want to do more detail, you totally can with this. You can use smaller tips, but black it is. Okay, now that we're done with our black, this is when you're going to want to change colors. And what you're going to do is use your little pot. First, I like to kind of just rinse it out with water. And then I use some of the airbrush cleaner. Get my little brush. Make sure I'm getting all the sides. That's when you put the cap back on and you kind of run it to clear out the nozzle. And then what you can do, you can also clog it here. Put your finger over the tip and then back pressure, and it'll kind of clean out the thing. So you can do this multiple times. That's a nice clean airbrush. Now we're gonna do our second color. Okay, I've cleaned out my brush in between coats, and now we're gonna go with this blue. I probably should have done the blue before the gray, but oh well. All right, I let these dry overnight. This is after all of the colors have been applied. I also sprayed the backs black and also put the matte clear. You can kind of still see some of the cutouts. But yeah, a couple layers of the flat clear hopefully should protect it pretty well. I still have the overspray film on the other side. I'm going to remove that now. I did also spray the interior with a coat of the matte clear. I thought it would look a little bit more realistic. That looks pretty good. Still have to attach the heads. And yeah, I think this looks really nice. I'm satisfied with how everything turned out. I think I'm going to also do this outline. I only did this interior part blue. I think I'm going to actually do this outline interior part flat as well. So we'll see. Maybe this blue part as well. So that is it for this video. My body looks amazing. I am really satisfied with how my first airbrush paint job turned out. Hopefully this inspired you to pick up airbrushing. It's totally not difficult. I would say one of the most important things is making sure everything is super clean after you finish an airbrush session. Really take care of your airbrush gun. If I can do it, so can you. It was a little bit difficult installing the interior after the whole cage was already assembled, so I did scratch a little bit of the black off. Someone did mention that the Proline paints do easily scratch, so hopefully that's not the case. I did back it with the matte clear, so hopefully that protects it. I'll keep you posted on how this handles long term. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you later.